Today I'm going to talk about money. Not our favorite topic, how to get it, but what to do with it once we have it and our attitude towards it. Aristotle thought that there are two different virtues governing the handling of money. One is liberality, which is the virtue of properly handling ordinary sums of money. A liberal person is generous in giving to others and does not insist upon getting as much as she can for herself. But she cannot do that unless she is a wise money manager. When we are always behind in our bills, we do not have the money to be generous to others, and we aren't able to make intelligent choices about what we really want to do with our money. What Aristotle means by liberality is not just giving to people in need. He thinks of liberality as a much broader virtue that shows a willingness and even an enjoyment in giving to others, whether they need it or not. Think of the person who often picks up the check at the restaurant. A liberal person does things like that, and a stingy person does not. The liberal person is not tight with her money, but neither is she profligate. She spends neither too much nor too little. Aristotle also says that the virtue of liberality is not a matter of how much you give. A person who gives little may be more liberal than the one who gives a lot, if the one who gives little has less to give. That is because Aristotle says that virtue is a mean between extremes relative to the person who has it. What is gluttony for one person is the right amount of food for someone who is extremely active. What is liberality for one person is stinginess for a person who has considerable wealth. I think it is hard to hit the mean between the extremes of overspending and underspending. It seems to me that most people lean one way or the other. I used to lean to overspending and not saving, but eventually discovered that saving can be as much fun as spending, especially if saving takes the form of investing. In our society, overspending must be a problem because of the high level of credit card debt. The problem doesn't seem to be solved by getting a sudden increase in income either. Sports Illustrated reported that 78% of NFL players face bankruptcy or serious financial stress within just 2 years of leaving the game. 60% of NBA players are broke within 5 years of retiring from play. Professional athletes aren't the only ones who can't seem to handle sudden riches. There are lots of stories of lottery winners who blow $10 million or more in a few years and end up with nothing. Why do some people overspend and others underspend? My hypothesis is that it has to do with one's attitude towards the future. The people who overspend are either overconfident about the future or don't think about the future at all. The people who underspend are excessively fearful of the future. They can't enjoy what they have and share it with others because they're always preparing for a future disaster. Aristotle discussed a second virtue in handling money. This is magnificence, or the virtue of large-scale spending on public projects or philanthropies. This virtue has often been criticized as one of Aristotle's aristocratic virtues. Obviously, you cannot spend large sums of money on public building projects and spectacles for your fellow citizens unless you have the kind of money only a small minority of people have. Our society is much more egalitarian, and we like to think that every virtue is within the reach of everyone. Frankly, I don't see why there can't be virtues that only apply to certain groups of people. But in any case, I think that Aristotle's virtue of magnificence includes an important lesson even for people who aren't in the top 1%. It seems to me that as our income grows, our public responsibilities grow. When we are single students, our first obligation is to get through school and then start a career. When we have a family, our priorities rightly shift towards our family. But if we're lucky and our income continues to grow, the balance of spending ought to shift to include giving back to the society that allowed us to flourish. Few of us will ever be able to create major foundations, but most of us can contribute to foundations. It's not hard to contribute to public television or to your university or to become a supporting member of a museum. Here is a completely different way of looking at money. There have been very wise people who voluntarily chose poverty because poverty makes possible a way of life that is freer in many ways than a life whose freedom has to be continuously fed with money. Think of St. Francis of Assisi and many other Christian saints. Another example is the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. The Emperor Domitian exiled all the philosophers from Rome because of their unfortunate tendency to speak the truth, and Epictetus was exiled to Nicopolis. He reportedly lived in a house with only a rush mat, a pallet to sleep upon, and an earthenware lamp, which was a replacement for his iron lamp that was stolen. Aristotle did not admire that way of life because he maintained that it is a virtue to give money away, and obviously you cannot give what you don't have. But there are many ways of giving, and Epictetus and St. Francis gave the world gifts that went beyond anything that even the richest people give. St. Paul said that the love of money is the root of all evil. The desire for money never ends, but it is a desire that only makes sense if it allows us to get something worth having. In Greek mythology, the classic story of love of money is the myth of King Midas, who asked Dionysius to make anything he touches turn to gold. He can't eat or drink like a normal person, and when he accidentally touches his daughter, she turns to gold before his very eyes. The desire for money can lead to losing something more precious than gold. I know people who respond to this problem by not thinking about money at all. But it seems to me that there is such a thing as thinking about money too much, and another extreme of not thinking about it enough. Not thinking about money is fine, except that then you become the victim of an economic machine that affects you whether you're thinking about it or not. I think the basic virtue of handling money is not being too attached to it. Money is nothing but a medium of exchange and has no value in itself. It is good to have it because it gives us options to exchange some of our goods for other goods that we want more. But money is worthless unless the things we want to get with it are worth having. To know that, we need practical wisdom, the most important of Aristotle's virtues, and the last one in the series of virtues we will discuss.